Hey guys, my name's Jay, and today we're going to walk through the technical specifications required to upload videos successfully to Copy Central. Submitting your first TV ad can be quite daunting. When I first started, I read through pages and pages of documentation to make sure I was uploading the correct video format. I've now successfully submitted a couple of hundred submissions, so I've decided to create this video to show you guys my process of how I submit videos to Clearcast. Before we get into the technical specs, here's a bit of background into who Clearcast are. Clearcast are owned by the major UK television networks such as ITV, Channel 4, Sky and Warner Media. To check whether adverts adhere to the UK advertising codes, the BCAP and CAP codes. If an advert does make it to TV and is found to breach these codes, another organisation known as the ASA have the authority to pull the advert, impose fines to the broadcaster and in severe cases withdraw the broadcaster's licence. One thing I would always recommend is getting Clearcast involved in the TV clearance process as early as possible to make sure any creative you're planning actually adheres to the ASA guidelines. There's nothing worse than filming and editing a commercial only to realise that the visuals or script are incorrect and require either reshoots or re-edits. Anyway, let's jump into the technical specs required to make sure your video is uploaded successfully. So first, I'll be assuming that you've already normalised your audio levels, making sure the audio isn't jumping all over the place, that it's not too loud, not too quiet, and it's consistent throughout the whole ad, as this is something which can hold back the clearance of your advert. Another thing I'll be assuming is that your RGB levels and luminance levels are within legal limits. If your advert does fail due to either of these issues, Clearcast will provide a list of steps to remedy the issues, such as stating the frames with brightness or audio levels are falling outside the legal boundaries. If you're unsure how to keep your video within these ranges, there are two quick fixes that we'll go over later. So I'll be editing my video in Premiere Pro. If you're using a different editing software, the location of these settings will definitely differ, but the same principles will apply. So let's start with the content required in the final version of your ad. Every advert must begin with a clock slate featuring key information and most importantly a unique clock number. I've created a clock slate essential graphic for you to download if you're using Premiere Pro. You'll find the link in the description. So a clock number is used to identify an advert and its creators or source. The clock number is your unique identifying tag for each ad you create, and it basically features 15 characters linking to different areas of your ad. So here's an example of a clock number I've made. Let's break down what the 15 characters stand for and where I got them from. The first 3 characters are your agency code. These will be assigned to you by Clearcast when you sign up to the platform. This is followed by a further 4 alpha characters from A to Z. It's recommended that you split these 4 characters into 2 segments. So the first 2 letters are meant to relate to your client, whilst the second 2 relate to the product. Feel free to use whatever 4 letters you want as your client and product code. Following on from this, we then add 3 numerical characters. These are to uniquely identify each advert created within the same campaign. So if your campaign features 5 varying ads of the same length, you would most likely use 001 for your first advert and 002 for the second, and so on. These digits are also decided by you, so you could use any 3 digits to identify each advert within the same campaign. It's whatever's easiest for your organisational system or whatever you do within your company. We end with the last 3 digits, which represent the number of seconds within the adverts. So if your advert is 30 seconds, you'd add 030. However, adjust accordingly to the length of your ad. So a 60 second would be 060. As a side note, all UK TV ads are created to 10-second intervals. So if your clock number ends in any digit other than 0, you've probably gone wrong somewhere. So double check how long your ad is and make sure it ends on a 10-second interval. If you're using the essential graphic in the description, you may notice it turns black at the 7-second mark. Don't panic, this is correct. The last 3 seconds of a clock slate should be black. After the clock slate finishes, we can then add our creative. The commercial must start on the 10-second mark. Well, the visuals do anyway. The audio needs to start on frame 256, 6 frames after. If you're wondering why we do this, it basically finds its roots in the time when commercials were played from tape. They actually used to include half a second of audio silence. This technically shouldn't be required anymore in the age of digital media, but it's just one of those things which is carried over. Anyway, let's get back to what you're here for. You add your 6 frames of silence at the beginning of your ad, and you also need to add 6 frames of silence at the end. There's one more feature to add to your project, and that is a freeze frame. we need to end the advert with a 10-second hold frame of the last frame of your advert. This is just used to assist with a broadcaster in case they need a bit of wiggle room to fill up time across the ad break. So let's recap. The first 10 seconds are your clock number, 7 seconds of which you can see the last 3 seconds of black. You then start your advert on the 10-second mark. Your audio starts 6 frames later on frame 256 and ends 6 frames before the end of your visuals. You then finish with a 10-second hold frame, so for a 30-second commercial, your entire project should be 50 seconds long. Now we've sorted out the content of your advert, we'll jump into the export settings. So Clearcast allows you to submit your video in a multitude of formats. In the description, you'll find the export preset I use in Media Encoder to download. However, if you'd like to create the preset yourself, I've included a link to the range of formats Clearcast allows you to use. I'll just run you through the settings I use to create my preset and 2 tricks that will help with the audio and the brightness levels in case you're not sure how to do that. So go to Media Encoder or Premiere Pro's export and select the QuickTime option at the top. Change the video codec to Apple ProRes 422. You'll also need to make sure your video dimensions are 1920 by 1080 if you're uploading a HD advert, that is. Clearcast don't accept 720p videos or 4K, but they do accept standard definition commercials, and you'll find the settings required for those in the document I mentioned earlier with the list of other compatible file formats. Another thing to note, as it could be missed if you're used to submitting ads in other countries, is UK television operates at 25 frames per second, so make sure your frame rate is set to 25 FPS. Lastly, you'll need to make sure your field order is set to upper first. Remember earlier on I mentioned there are 2 quick fixes for brightness and audio levels? Well, in Premiere Pro and Media Encoder there are 2 settings that can be added to help with this, and they can be found under the Effects tab. If you scroll down to the Video Limiter tab, turn this on and select the 105 IRE under the Clip Level tab, and that can help in regards to the brightness and RGB levels. It's obviously best to achieve this within the actual colour grading of your advert, however this fix can be applied after a fact if you want to do that instead. This trick doesn't always work, but it does work most of the time when I've needed it to. Underneath the Video Limiter tab, you'll find Loudness Normalization. Select EBU R128 and this can help with the audio levels. Just like the other quick fix, this is best achieved by doing this manually with a raw audio, but you can do this after the fact if that's the only option you have. Once you've applied these export settings, you'll be good to go. It's now time to export your video and upload it to Copy Central. As a warning, if anything fails at the TVC stage, you'll need to create a brand new submission and start this process from scratch, so make sure you fill in the details correctly. Like I said at the beginning, it's best to keep Clearcast in the loop throughout the entire process to make sure the content of your ad is approved. So at this stage, you know your advert won't fail for content reasons, and following the steps I've just shown you, it should pass through without a hitch at this stage. That's all the technical specifications you'll need to apply to your video to send your advert through to Clearcast. Hopefully this explanation has been helpful, but if there's anything I've missed or anything you'd like explained in more detail, let me know in the comments below and I'll be sure to get back to you. Good luck in submitting your commercial to Copy Central and have a great day, guys.